Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest podcast on planet Earth. This is the one and only Uncover podcast, and it's your boy Femi here.
Yes, sir. And it's your boy, Nick. What's happening, mate?
I'm chilling, but honestly, I'm so tired. We had a really big day.
What happened?
You were dead the whole time.
Literally. Yeah, but I'm not tired. That's what I'm trying to figure out what happened with
because the thing is, like, you don't have the work rate.
Oh, what were you doing?
You don't have the work rate that I got.
What were you doing
when
that I
you
wasn't
do
doing?
things, it's like when you go to a PT class, you can do it and just participate and not be tired. But if you do it to your full kind of capacity, you're gonna be tired.
Okay, so
that's what I do.
Give the audience a little bit of a rundown of what we did.
I bet. Nah.
You're just a lazy guy.
Nah, but I just put that work in. So it's been a long day. It's been a hot day. We've been in the sun. We've been shooting with by the time this comes out, so you'll know. We've been shooting with the Daily Telegraph today. Did a photo shoot.
Sir.
I had to go all the way there, all the way back home.
Literally went all the way there for 10 minutes.
Yeah, a bit longer than that, but yeah, it felt very, very, very short.
Yeah.
Then we had to go all the way back home. Had to work on a couple projects. I'm not sure if this is going to be released by the time this goes out, so I won't say what projects it is, but there's a lot of writing of articles and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if it's being produced, so I can't say much. But we're doing a lot of work at the moment.
Yeah.
But
it's all exciting stuff, but to be honest,
yes.
I'm really keen for what we're working on. And a lot of these things that we're working on are things that we haven't actually done ourselves, which is the crazy thing about it.
What do you mean?
As in, like, these are projects that we haven't really delved into ourselves. Like, you know how sometimes, like, podcasts now was a new project at the start, but we've done many of them. That's just like, we know how it works.
Oh, right.
But these projects that we're doing are things that we haven't done, which is exciting. It's because
massive learning experiences.
Yeah, it's a bit scary, but it's all the mindset. It's like, it's the fear of like entering the unknown that kind of like makes you scared about, oh, I can't do this. I can't do it right. But it's just like, sack the fear and just freaking go for it. And it's going to be sick.
Fuck, That's why you listen to the Uncovered podcast.
No, that's why you listen to the Uncovered podcast.
For Nicholas's ramblings.
No, that's it for my waffles.
Straight Belgian waffle guy. Nah, but since he's like straight up, I 100% agree with you. I think that it's a very exciting time for us, and we're really happy that you guys are on this journey with us. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for supporting us. I'm not sure how many episodes. This is episode 5, right?
Yes, that's correct. Episode 5.
Episode 5, man. Good on us. I think that we're up to 40 million views right now or something like that.
We're killing the game. Like, we've had so many reach outs from Spotify.
Yeah, man.
Apple Music.
Apple himself.
Yeah, like the Apple himself.
The actual human Apple. Hit us up and like, bro, like, please, like, teach us how to up our podcast game. I guess making so many views. I'm like, nah,
exactly. Yeah, no, that's it. Nah.
Buy my course. It's 80 grand. Oh shit!
Boom.
So talk to the people, Nicholas. What are we talking about today? Because you just invited me to your house, your beautiful house of your
honestly,
acreage.
This one is crazy. Like, this is the one that this is what my 10th property that I bought last month.
All of the podcast money, right?
All of the podcast money, which has been crazy. Like, you guys can obviously see the growth. You can see the level.
Bro, you don't know this.
And it's just been crazy. I'm excited. I'm glad to have you here. I told Femi not to wear shoes, but he wore shoes. The disrespect, but
what are you wearing?
Huh? Nothing, man. Just my sandals. Sandals, bro.
Go, but talk to the people. Talk to the people. Look.
No, honestly, this one's gonna be. I'm excited about this one, because this is like one of these. This was a topic that we're talking about is one of the biggest things that I struggled with.
100%.
Well, you know,
so I didn't need to agree like that.
Oops. You didn't need to agree like that. 100%. Should not even 70%. Like, fuck me. But no, honestly, it's something that I struggled with a lot. And like, obviously, having you as a mate, you really helped me kind of overcome that a lot. And I think that a lot of our listeners out there, probably some of them go through the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think there's going to be a lot of learnings, at least from our stories, because we haven't really gone too personal and shared our story. So the audience don't really know too much about us. So with this podcast, this episode, we're just going to go all out, man. Well, for myself.
100% vulnerability. There's obviously going to be mental health principles in it, of course, as everything does. But it's not going to be a very clinical, teachy, theory-based project. But if you really... like you're gonna be able to get the learning out of it from hearing our stories and hearing our kind of understandings and our growth. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So, what is the topic, Nicholas?
Well, the topic that we are talking about today is all to do with acceptance and acting like somebody you're not.
Oof.
Because the thing is, right now in this day and age, where everyone's so different, you fit yourself into different circles, different cliques, and you feel like you have to be someone you're not. But then sometimes you go home and you really feel like you're not actually truly aligned with the person that you are.
100%.
And I think it's gonna speak to a lot of people, not just with their social groups, but even people that are opening up, getting out of the closet, like in our Richard Reed's podcast as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna talk. Why are you smiling? You're like, it connects
smiling.
with me.
What? I'm not smiling, man. It's not funny,
but you know what I mean? It's gonna really connect with that way. So let's kind of get straight into it, bro, because we've been rambling for like at least 5 minutes.
I swear to God.
5 minutes. Look, I don't know if all that part's gonna make it, but
straight
waffling for 5 minutes.
So like, look, but like honestly, what is actually acceptance? Because I feel like this word gets thrown out a lot, and we always talk about this stuff that we think we understand, but we don't know. We don't actually understand. So like, what do you mean by like acceptance and wanting to be accepted or belong or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I think about acceptance and I hear acceptance, the thing that comes to my mind is, like you were saying, that feeling of belonging, that feeling of like having a true, unshakable connection to something, or whether it's a group or a clique, whatever it is, that you feel like you belong there and you're showing your full 100% authentic self. And I feel like a lot of the times, right, when I think about acceptance and stuff, I feel that I went through a period in my life where I felt like, you know, as you're growing up, you're young, you don't really know too much. You're kind of figuring out life for yourself, right?
100%, of course.
And I felt like during my younger stages, I went through a lot of times where I felt like I didn't really accept and belong with some of the cliques that I was moving in.
Like what?
And like for example, before. Let me talk. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Femi and I.
Nah, talk that talk, baby.
So, like, obviously, like, Femi and I, like, we've known each other since we've been, like, 5 years old, but we've actually grew up quite differently.
100%.
Like, Femi, how would you describe how you were kind of, like, your side? I don't want...
Oh, what do you mean? Like my
your upbringing.
My upbringing?
Yeah.
I think I had a, like, from a parental point of view, I had a great upbringing. Like, nothing to take away from my parents, but I think the area that I grew up in, like the kind of like the demographic and the people that I used to hang around and associate with were, you know, not very conducive to the teachings at home. So like when I grew up, man, I grew up kind of rough. Grew up in a school. I went to public schools most of my life, and then even the Catholics. If you're from Western Sydney, quote unquote Catholic schools, they're not Catholic schools. You know, they're just expensive public schools. I'll tell you the truth, they're just expensive public schools. So like, so I went to schools like that were rough, and, you know, like fights every day, drugs, alcohol, the whole shebang. So that was kind of like, that shaped the way that I saw the world, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And for myself, like, I grew up the complete opposite. Like, everything was quite airy-fairy. I was still from Blacktown, the west, but it was more like a hillsy side. Like genuine people, no fights, no nothing. Everyone's just so nice.
Yes.
So we had, like, even though we knew each other, we'd see each other maybe every how often? We didn't even see each other that much.
Before we became friends?
Yeah, before we became really tight.
Like yearly, maybe a couple months?
Yeah, something like that. So it was crazy. So then when we would connect, it just felt like, we know each other from family, friends, but we were different.
So different.
We were so different.
This guy liked Naruto and anime and all of those. He was always going, Rasengan. I didn't know what he was talking about.
When we talk about, you know, but you're putting the
I was talking about, you know, Cursor, Sydney Searchers. You know, I was talking
this guy was graphing and everything on the walls, bro, targeting gangs and stuff, get into fights.
We had very, very different upbringing. So like, when we saw each other, it wasn't like we didn't understand each other.
It was crazy. And then we finally got to a point where we actually kind of like, I don't know what happened. I think it was church that brought us together, because before that, like, I honestly, like, Femi was about to die. Like, this podcast wasn't even about to exist if God didn't intervene. You know it.
Look, I swear to God, that story is another story, because that's a whole that's a podcast in itself.
Yeah,
and we've had a bit of backlash for saying that story.
Nah, I just said
look, man, you can find us somewhere. You can find the story out somewhere, but like, we'll talk about that another day. But anyway, we became friends.
Yeah, we became friends, and I started moving a lot more with Femi.
Yeah.
Which was like, it wasn't foreign to me because I knew Femi, but some of the things that Femi would do was things that were outside of my comfort.
Sure.
And I think one of the big ones that comes to mind when I think about that process was when we used to, you know, go to the city, Oh shit. Yeah.
He's baiting me.
I'm baiting you. We used to go out to the city on Pitt Street. And Femi was super confident. He was always like, you know, ladies man, always chatting, chirping girls. That was not an issue to him. And I don't know how he got that confidence, by the way. I don't know where that came from.
Looks, baby.
And I always felt, because I just see him move in the city, just chatting to anyone. And bear in mind, we're like, what, 16 years old in our school?
Max.
And this guy's chatting to like corporate ladies in heels and all this stuff. And I'm like, how are you doing it? How are you actually doing it?
Yeah.
And like, I just felt like every time we did it, like I'd gone in there with the motion that's like, I want to do it. I just want to be like them. But then I'd go home and I'd feel kind of distant. I felt like, oh, this doesn't really align with who I am.
Let me just get a little bit of background.
Yeah.
Okay, because it wasn't just me. It was like it was me and my boy.
Yeah.
And shout out to the boy.
Yes,
He knows
sir.
who he is.
Yeah.
And it was a very different kind of like kind of phenomenon to you because you've never done that.
Yeah.
You've never even spoke to girls. Like the only girls you knew were the girls from your school.
Yeah.
And you guys just hung out. So like coming into that circle where we did things a little bit differently, did it a little bit more aggressive with the way that we moved was very, very different with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And that was kind of like, that was what was, I didn't feel like I was truly accepted because you guys would go off, right? Like you guys would go tag team or whatever. You go one, my other boy would go to another one. And then for me, I'm just feeling so out of my comfort zone. I'm like, how do I actually do it? So I used to just make shit up. I'd be like, oh, let me just go chill at fucking near the McDonald's or something. Yeah. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm busy. I'm chatting to this girl. And then I'll come link with you guys later. And then I'll come see you guys like
we
an
knew
hour.
You were chatting shit.
You didn't know what.
We knew that you were chatting shit. How could you go every single time? Oh, no number. Come on, man. Like, come on, bro. Like the thing about Nick is like Nick. I swear to God, bro. Like Nick is actually when he was younger. This was like this whole journey that he's had has been so amazing because he's had so much personal growth that it's ridiculous. Like at that time, he was a good-looking guy, man. Like he had girls wanting him, he had girls in love with him, and he was breaking hearts. Nick's low-key being responsible for a lot of mental health issues for a lot of girls. But like he had things. Yeah. But like he just had no self-belief and he had no confidence. Yeah. And I think that it really, it just aligned with the topic of acceptance. I think that because you didn't feel accepted or you felt different, you didn't back yourself or you didn't have that belief in yourself, which then kind of like spiraled into that circle of then not accepting yourself and then not having confidence and yada, yada, yada.
Exactly. I think that's true. And because it started to show up a lot more because it was something that I wasn't really aware of until that situation happened. And that became the only thing that I could think of. I'm like, fuck, like, I can't do this. Oh, fuck, this is also something else I can't do. Oh my gosh, I'm lacking this. And this is where I had a lot of like issues with my body image as well. Because I'm like, wow, everyone's young, they play sport, they seem quite fit. I was quite a chubby kid at that time as well. Well, not really chubby, but
no,
like
you were chubby. The thing is that we always go through this. You were chubby, and it's okay to be chubby.
I know it's okay.
But like, you were.
Whatever, for the sake of this, yeah.
Bruv, if you're 16 and 97 kilos, you're
chubby.
I
was never 97 kilos.
You're chubby. You're chubby.
But you know what I mean? And it really started to show up. And I'm just like, I really got to a point where I was like, like I don't really feel accepted. And like, because what would happen is that I'd hang out with you guys, then I'd go back to what I'm used to. And I'd feel like, there's such a true, authentic connection. I feel like I actually belong here. And I feel like that's because I was living outside. I was living in this bubble. In this world, and then when I hang out with you guys, I'd go outside that bubble into like the real world.
Yes,
and that was like one of the biggest things for me. That it's just crazy. And I felt like until we actually spoke about it a lot, and I started to be a bit more vulnerable, that was the only time that I was actually able to overcome it and really work through it and just allow it to be like, you know what, like. At the end of the day, I may not be the best at this, but you know what? That's okay. I don't need to be the best at it.
100%.
And that's when I started to accept it. And then once I had that thought process, those things that I used to think were so difficult started to become a bit easier to me because there was no connection. There was no attachment to that kind of result. And that's kind of how I really worked through it in my end. Did you ever have times where you felt that kind of way?
Where I didn't feel accepted?
Yeah.
100% all the time. Like, I feel like... there's been multiple times, like I feel like even with my family, I felt that because, like, being from an African family, like there's some people have a different experience. So my experience was we weren't always that close growing up.
Yeah,
it wasn't sit around the table, tell each other their feelings and shit like that. So my kind of like I got a lot of my emotional support outside. So like the way I behaved and the way that I was quite different from the way my family was and the way that my family kind of acted. And I didn't like I went to church my whole life, but I never really believed until I got a bit older. So like coming into my family setting, I never really felt accepted. I really felt that I was this black sheep. I always felt like I was gonna end up in jail. I always felt that I was gonna be this criminal. I always thought that I was gonna go down this path, even though I wasn't that bad. Now looking back, I wasn't even that bad.
Well, what kind of things were you doing that made you feel that
I
way?
can't say them things, but obviously. But Like I wasn't even that bad, but like I think compared to what my family's values and kind of movements were quite different. Like my sisters had ambitions of being super academic. I didn't have those ambitions till I got older.
Yeah.
Like my parents, my mom's got a PhD, my dad's got 3 masters. Like my parents are highly educated. My family, like no one in my family has less than 3 degrees.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, and I didn't get that ambition until I was older. So like growing up, I really felt left out in terms of like I just wanted to play sport.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, you know, graffiti or do art or just,
Yeah.
be out there and just kind of like be as much of a free spirit as I am,
Yeah.
because like my parents are quite, like everyone in my family is quite logical ones and zeros, while I'm very much so like not that, quite
Yeah.
creative and quite artsy and like to like explain stuff. So I never really felt connected in my home life
Yeah.
at all. So that really played a part on me when growing up, and in the way that I really thought about myself and the way that I really acted,
Yeah.
because it really showed up, and I didn't realize that it was showing up until, I would overcompensate. I would continue to overcompensate and be like, oh,
What do you mean? So just elaborate. What do you mean by like overcompensate for what? Like overcompensate what?
So overcompensate in terms of like in multiple different ways. Like if I don't have that, if I didn't feel like I was getting that love from my family,
Yeah.
I would seek that love somewhere else.
Right.
I would feel like, okay, I'm not accepted by my family. I'm going to go find a group that I am accepted by.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into a lot of really sticky situations in my younger years. I got into a lot of trouble when I was younger, and that was from that lack of like feeling like I had somewhere to call home.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like there was someone or something at a root level that really accepted me for who I was.
Yeah. And it's so true. It's like you're kind of just, it's like sheep. You're just going out there following whatever to kind of seek something that you were kind of missing.
Yeah.
It's like, like where can I go to get this? And like you said, you end up crossing bad paths with some of the people that you weren't meant to be with. You end up doing all these unnecessary things that you shouldn't have done, just to kind of seek that self-validation, that self-acceptance that I actually belong here and I'm actually worthy of love.
100%.
Which is crazy.
100%. And it's not till I got older that I realized why I was doing that, because it's not really intrinsically me to behave like that. I'm not an aggressive person, but I was very aggressive then. I'm not a person that enjoys, damaging property or being, doing bad shit. Do you know what I mean? All in all, illegal bad shit. But that was what I was doing back then, because I felt that like, if I'm not accepted at home, I need to be accepted somewhere. So it was easier to just fit that mold, to go over the top and fitting that mold outside.
And at what point did you feel like you felt that like, okay, like I understand? Because I think there's a level where we don't understand that we're actually doing these stuff for that reason.
Yeah.
So at what point did you get to that point where you're like, fuck, I realized that I'm actually just doing this to fill in the gap that's missing somewhere in my life?
Last week.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. I think it was probably like when I became honestly, do you want the honest answer?
Obviously.
The honest answer was probably like a couple of years ago, man.
Yeah.
Like I felt like until just a couple of years ago, I didn't really know who I was, and I kept struggling with that, and I kept really being that person that I felt that I should be, or people expected me to be, rather than being authentic to who I was.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize it was because of my home life. That was what it was transcribing into my everyday life.
Yeah.
So once I realized that a couple of years ago, that's when I started to change, and you would have noticed that as well.
100%.
Like like the change in my behavior is extraordinary. So yeah, I think a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And what kind of like, did you put anything in place to kind of like overcome that? Because I know for myself that when I was going through that hard time of feeling like, I don't belong, I'm not accepted, I'm lacking this self-confidence, there was a lot of inner work that I had to do, a lot of tough conversations that I need to have with myself in order to get myself out of that.
Sure.
So I'm like, did you do anything like that at all?
Well, yeah, it was all part of my hard time. So I went through a really, really difficult time a few years ago where I was like massively kind of like alone and depressed and kind of like really, really contemplating life in general. And throughout that hardest time, I didn't realize that at the time was my biggest blessings, because that was the change agent for me.
Yeah.
Like that was when I really stopped. I was able to like learn a lot of the skills for me to be able to handle the tough times. And like, don't get me wrong, it's still hard, but like, what I really did during that time was kind of just self-reflection. That's the biggest piece that I learned. And I say this, I bang on about it so much because it saved my life, I say.
Yeah.
Because unless I was able to really sit there and reflect and be aware of myself and be able to be grounded and put things into perspective, I wasn't able to heal. Exactly. I wasn't able to transcend from that depressed state. I wasn't able to transcend from, I've never really gone into it even with you, but like that was the fucking hardest time of my life. And that's why I always talk about that so much, because it really, really did change my life.
100%. And I know that like you say this all the time, but for me, I always found it so difficult to just self-reflect because I just hated having that conversation with myself.
Yeah, 100%.
I never wanted to feel like I'm such a shit kind, or I got all these insecurities, I got all of these things.
But you are, and you do.
Exactly.
And that's the thing about it. It's like you need, if you don't have that conversation with yourself, and you don't accept your lacklusterness, the fact that you're average as fuck, you're not going to be able to improve. And that's the really hard truth to have with yourself, is that like there's two sides of ourselves. We either think that we're really, really shit, or we think that we're really, really good. The truth is neither's the truth. The truth is, like, if you put things in perspective, you're really good at some things, you're not so good at some things, but you yourself are perfect because of that blend. And the moment that you're able to put that in perspective and accept that, you're like, you can accept yourself, and you won't care if other people will accept you or not, because you have accepted yourself.
Exactly. And that was the biggest breaking point for me, because it was just like, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't need to be this. Like, I really don't. It doesn't matter. Like, God's created me in his image, what he believes to...
God. Who's God? Gordon.
I didn't say Gordon.
You said God.
I said God.
He said God.
I did it.
Gordon. Oh, Gordon. Gordon, why have you forsaken me? Gordon.
Wow, holy crap. All right. But you know what I mean?
This episode's of Nick's first day of speaking English.
Everyone that listens to it, you heard me clear. I said God. I said God. But you know what I mean? It was to get into that point where it's like, like, I'm not this, I'm not that. What's the point of me trying to be somebody that I'm not? Like, there's really no benefit. And you'd always get to a time where you come home and you're like, fuck, I don't feel aligned to myself. I don't feel aligned to what I'm doing. And like what our mentor Ryan always used to say, like, the universe comes back, it always gives you feedback.
100%.
And you always start to feel things that it's like, far, like, now because I've done this, now I'm in this position. Now that I've done that, now this is coming back to me. And it's like, you don't know how to deal with it. It just becomes crazy. And then you get to that point where it's like, oh, this is only because I was doing things that weren't truly to me. Because once you put yourself in that position, you don't know how to respond, because it's not something that you're used to. And I felt like the early time, because I wasn't good at self-reflection, the early time that I was able to really be aware of these weaknesses was when I got to a point where I'm able to just have a conversation with someone that's really real and honest with you, which I think is something that's really, really important.
Right, facts.
You need to have someone that at the end of the day, like, you don't want to be friends with someone that's just your friend so they can give you all the good shit that you want to hear.
100%.
You want to have someone that can really be true with you and be honest with you and give you the real talk. Because that's the only time that you're going to be able to face and fight your inner demons. And that was you in my life. It was like, because I remember a lot of the times you'd be saying me this stuff, I'm like, shut up, and I'll just hang up on you. Like, I'm not having this conversation, hang up on you. Laters.
But I copped it.
Laters. Like, shut up, but you know what you're talking about, laters. You don't know me.
Here we are, baby.
But you know what I mean? But there's always a point that when you have those real conversations, someone gives you that honest, tough feedback, even when you hang up because your ego was like, nah, I don't want to hear this, there's always a moment when you self-reflect and you're like, far. Like, that was actually true. But then the real battle is that whether you want to admit it or not. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, and I think that when we were talking, the thing that I don't want people to miss is how important it is. Like, not even how important it is the fundamentals of what we're talking about. The absolute first point of being able to feel accepted is you need to accept yourself. And the only way to accept yourself is to know yourself. You need to be aware of yourself. You need to be able to say, okay, I'm good at things, I'm bad at things, whatever, but like, that's okay. And that the only way to do that is to self-reflect.
Exactly.
Like, you need to be able to do self-reflection with yourself, have talk therapy with someone, talk to someone, and be able to outline your shit and outline your emotions, understand your emotions, so that when you've done that, you can accept it. Because right now, the reason why people aren't able to accept you, or you aren't able to accept yourself, or you feel like you're in this kind of pinball state and you don't feel like solid in yourself, is because you haven't got to that level of awareness. And which is so, so scary to live life without.
100%. And let's be real. Like, when you have these conversations and when you get to that point, you're gonna fucking hate it.
Oofed, mega.
You're gonna hate it. Like,
Mega.
don't feel like this is gonna be something that's easy, that's not gonna challenge you. Like, it's gonna be incredibly tough.
Yeah.
But it's really a must-have conversation if you want to grow and you want to get over it. Because until you actually do it, like, you're just, like Femis said, you're just gonna get pinballed all the time. You're gonna be feeling lost.
100%. And we see that, and it's like, trust me when I say age is not the sign of this.
Yeah.
I see people that are 50, 60, 70 years old, still completely unaware and still seeking that validation, still seeking that acceptance. So it's really, really important that, like, if you're listening to this and this is your first episode, brother, go home today. After this episode, finish this episode.
Finish the episode, obviously.
Yeah, finish the episode. Like us on Instagram as well. And then sit at home, and you don't have to write shit down. I find it useful to write shit down or like say things out. But you can just really just sit there and think about, be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Who actually are you? What do you like? What do you hate? What are the things that like trigger you? Why are you triggered? Have a reflection piece about yourself. It's like, have I been through things that like are causing me to be like this?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, not only is it gonna be that you're gonna hate it, it's gonna be fucking hard at the start.
Definitely.
You're not gonna know. You're not gonna have any of the answers at the start. You're like, this doesn't work. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know myself. I don't know. It's an exercise. It's a muscle.
Yeah.
You've got to keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Show up every single day.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be able to, oh, okay, today I felt this. Today I felt that. Oh, that makes sense. That's why. And you're piecing shit together
100%.
day by day. And eventually you're going to be able to get to the point where you don't need to do it at the end of the day. You're constantly doing it as you're going.
Exactly. And one of the big good questions that I like to ask myself all the time, which our mentor Ryan said to us, is that if this was your last day on earth and no one was watching, would you be living your life the exact same way that you're doing right now, or would you be doing something different?
Yeah.
I think that that's such a good question to ask yourself, to be like, am I actually doing what's aligned to myself and something that I love, or are you living your life as someone that you're actually not?
Yeah.
Because I think that it was until I asked myself that question, that was a time where I actually started embedding or actually putting into my life different stuff that I actually enjoy doing. So when Femi used to hate on me watching Naruto, I was like, fuck Femi.
That's it. Fuck me. Fuck the Femis in your life.
Fuck the Femis in my life. I like watching Naruto. So I'm like, I'm going to watch that shit.
It doesn't matter if you're 25 years old and still watching Naruto.
It doesn't matter. Michael B. Jordan's on the same wavelength, but it's all good.
But he's Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, but I'm about to be Nick. So it doesn't matter.
There's a lot of Nicks. There's a lot of Nicks.
But you know what I mean?
Get the Nick handle on Instagram. You can't get it.
Oh, I can't get it.
You can't get it.
I can't get it at all. But you know what I mean? There's two I start, and then you start actually adding little things that you actually enjoy doing. And then it starts becoming a lot clearer in your head as to be like, wow, this is actually who I am. And this is actually what I like doing. And then it becomes super, super clear.
100%. This is definitely not what I thought this conversation was going to go by, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I feel like, look, if you listen to this thing as something else, I expected something else too, but you got this instead.
No, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, we didn't bring you a concise kind of summary, but what have you ever done for us?
No, that's it. And we full had like a preparation here, so we really shouldn't have went that way at all. But
like, do you know what? The conversation was banging. I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like it gave us a bit of insight into ourselves. And like, it felt good, man. It felt good to talk about that.
I want to talk about one thing though. I think this is quite an interesting one.
Go on.
And it's a bit off topic, but it's really interesting.
Okay.
What do you think of why do you think people have this fear of being wrong?
Being wrong?
Wrong.
Do you want me to answer it like scientifically?
However you want to answer it, go for it.
All right.
I just find that interesting because I felt like, I don't know. I was just thinking as I'm talking about acceptance, self-reflection, and thinking about who I am, a big piece that was something that I struggled with was like, I always felt like I need to be right. And when I was wrong, I felt so deeply offended. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? You know what
I mean? Yeah, I think that, look, honestly, bro, like, obviously, if we're looking at it back as a quick little scientific thing, if we're looking scientifically, the reason why people are wrong, it comes into that fear. The fear factor is like, okay, if I'm wrong, I'm going to be, exiled from the tribe, or exiled from your friendship group, or exiled from, if you're wrong too many times, you're going to be exiled from that
That's like
group.
an acceptance piece kind of a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once you feel like you're wrong too many times, like, oh, I'm not going to be accepted, I'm not going to find a mate, I'm not going to find friends, blah, blah, blah. You have all these really stupid, primitive thoughts. That's literally what happens, right? That's what the fear factor is in your amygdala, which is the most primitive part of your brain, which comes up and gives you those thoughts. So that's what's happening scientifically. The reason, what it looks like from a relatable point of view, from a everyday piece is that you're scared that if you're made wrong too many times, you're going to be seen as inferior. So if you're looked as inferior, you're no longer going to be like, because people look at, people want to have a superior mate, a superior friend, a superior everything.
Society's already dictated that, like, if you're inferior, you're a pleb.
You're a pleb. You're no one. So, like, if you feel like you're wrong too many times, you feel stupid. You feel unaccepted, and you feel like you're not going to be able to, match up. So you feel insecure. You feel less worthy when it comes to the worth piece.
Fair enough, to be honest.
Facts.
That was actually interesting. I'm like,
well,
because it was always something that I'm like, why does that happen? I feel like it's not even just with myself, but when you have conversations with anyone.
Oh yeah, it's scientific. It's in your ego. Like, it's all ego based stuff. Like, that's why it's very important to work on getting rid of your ego, because it's innate.
Yeah,
it's innate. Your ego is very innate. So, like, obviously, if I say nobody likes being told they're wrong.
Yeah,
because the ego is so strong in every person. If I go up to you like, okay, I've heard your story, but that's wrong. Like, shut the fuck up, nigga. Shut up. Do you know what I mean? So 100%.
Nah, sweet. Anywho, we've actually been going on for a minute,
bro. A mega minute. We're gonna have a lot. Sean, you're gonna cut a lot of stuff out of this.
Nah, that's it.
So,
anywho, that was a fantastic episode. I liked it. I'm
not gonna title it acceptance, but we'll title it.
We'll title it something. Whatever. Yeah, ignore what I said. That's what I thought it was going, but it didn't.
Yeah, we thought so.
Which is alright.
Which is fine.
Those type of conversations that I like doing.
Let's see if the next episode goes that way. It might.
Stay tuned. Anywho's, honestly, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Uncovered podcast. Once again, like, subscribe, and leave a review. I would love to hear what you guys think, what your thoughts
100%.
are, what are some of the things that you struggled with and how you overcame it. Because if we can build a community on our podcast reviews where people are just constantly learning new things about each other, I think it'll be a fantastic community on our podcast.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from each other. For sure.
Absolutely. So follow me at Instagram at Neezy with 4 E's and an underscore. Facts.
Dumb as school.
Idiot.
And
that's it.
So you already know where to find me because you're already following me. But for the people that aren't, at who's Femi.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Peace and love.